Welcome to Model Horse Tack School. My name is Carrie, and today we're going to make a pair of pants for a 7.5-inch male rider. Now, the 7.5-inch male rider is traditional scale, not classic, but he's shorter than the girl doll that they have. We need to pick our fabric. The fabric I've selected is this. It's kind of a wool blend. It's nice and lightweight, but it does fray pretty easy. So I'm going to have to make sure that I go ahead and cut this out, and then I use some type of edge treatment, whether it's fray check or maybe some glue that's been watered down, some way to keep it from fraying. You only have 1/8 of an inch seam allowance on this. If you need more, then go ahead and cut this out and trace it and put more seam allowance. Okay, so we got 2 of the front pant leg. I've got 1 waistband, and I've got 2 of the rear pant leg. And we'll want to keep track of the front and the rear, but my next step is going to be to go ahead and treat my edges. Just a little tip on this fray check, you poke it with a needle, at least I poke it with a needle to open it up, and then I use a flat top needle and I go ahead and push that in there, and then I go ahead and close it up, and that helps to keep my nozzle from clogging. Step number 1, now that the fray check is dry, we're going to take a rear panel and a front panel, and we're going to go ahead and sew the outside seam of the pant leg, and we'll do that for both. Make sure you end up with a right and a left. After you get them done, make sure that you cut off all your little threads like this, and that you iron the seams. You're only going to get 1 shot to iron the seam, and it'll make a big difference on the final piece. Next thing I want to do is go ahead and hem these pants. You don't need to hem them very much, just 1/8 of an inch. Okay, here we are. They're hemmed and they're pressed. And now what we need to do is this. If you notice, that's your fly. It's straighter and shorter, and this is the back side, the butt, I guess, the butt seam. So we need to go ahead and match the darts and sew right to the end of those darts. So from there to there. There we go. It's almost looking like pants. Okay, what we need to do now is kind of we need to do the fly. All right, so on both sides we're only going to go to just above this dart. Okay, so we'll sew it. Do not sew the dart, because you still need a little bit of crotch space in here, or your fly isn't going to extend right between his legs. If you notice what I had to do is kind of like taper this a little bit, so it's a little wider up here than it is down here, in order to get that extra that I'll need for when I do the crotch seam. Now for the waistband, it's going to be right sides together, and to find center, yeah, just go ahead and fold it over and then pin it. Like that. Ow. Oh, it's black, so it's okay. No blood. Okay. And then we're going to do pin here, and then we'll do a pin here, and then 2 more. I'll go as quickly as I can. Okay, so this way I can just sew it straight. It kind of curved, but this way it's straight, and I'll sew it that way. I pull out the pins either before the needle gets there, or in many cases it'll just jump right over, depending upon the width of your stitch. All right, so the next thing we need to do is close our waistband. And what we want to do is we want to fold it over. There's going to be more on this side than there is on that side, because this is folded under that way. What I would do is kind of trim some of this bulk here, just a little bit out of there. And then same thing over here. When I fold it over, You see, I'm going to expect for there to be more here than here. And this here, I'm going to just kind of take some of that off because it's a lot of bulk. Okay. And so what we're going to do is just sew right down this way on both sides. Okay, so we're going to need to turn this right side out. So let's get rid of some of this bulk here. So you kind of trim the point away, not all the way, but you want to trim it so you still have stitches a little bit on there, but then trim that. And then I'm going to use something to help it turn right side out. And try and not push it all the way through. So we want the seam. We don't want to push the point all the way through. Believe me, I've done that. We want to get that straight as possible. Okay, and then the next thing we want to do is we're going to sew this down. Okay, so to avoid the extra bulk in the waistband, I'm not going to tuck it under. I am going to tuck the ends here so that I get a clean edge there, but I'm going to sew that way. There we go. Waistband is finished and it's been ironed. So we're almost there. Now what we need to do is sew our legs on the inside seam right to below the dart, because then we'll do another seam from dart to dart. But we're going to go inside seam. Be sure to match your hem so that that's the right length. Okay, so it looks like that. And then the last stitch we have to perform is going to be putting those darts together. And we have to go from there to there. There we go. So we got this closed up. And I even did a little bit of a stitch back here to make sure he wasn't exposing himself in the back. So now we can turn this right side out. Okay, there's our pants turned right side out. And the last thing, of course, would be a way to close the pants up here. And you can use hooks, which I think are out of scale. I've got some snaps. Where's the snaps? There's a snap. There's a snap. Obviously, you can use that just right there. You know, close it. I think those are out of scale. Now I have this Velcro, so it sticks to itself. So I'm going to use this. I consider it doll Velcro. I found it years ago. Don't ask me where. It had to be a craft store, a Michael's or a Joann. And so what I would do is I'd go ahead and glue a piece on each side, making sure I have the hook side. So I would put like the fluffy side here. You could sew it. I'm a fan of glue. Okay, so fluffy side is facing up here. And then the rough side would face down. And that would be on the other side of the pants, like that. Will I ever be done with the glue? No, I won't. All right, and then just set that aside to dry. And then you end up with a pair of pants that kind of looks like this. There's my closure right there. And it's got his boots on, and he's all good to be the handler for Zafira. I want to thank you so much for spending time with me today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you again next time.